Bada boom, two realest guys in the room. How you doing, Chael?
Never better, my man. Happy to see you.
Let's talk about submission underground first and then get into some UFC business. How's that sound?
Awesome.
This is your first event. You look tired, but this has got to be considered a success, right?
Yeah. I am a little fatigued. I'm trying to hide it, but we had MMA last night, and then we came back and did submission today. Both sold out. It was packed house. That's a lot of fun. And you know, it has to be. You brag about those things, but you also exhale and go, well, thank goodness. But your profits have to exceed your expenditure. I mean, this is basic business, or it doesn't move forward. And it's like there's so much momentum, and the guys want to do it, the fans, we have to be able to move this thing forward. And that's our job. That's our job to make sure that it balances and that you can go on. So yeah, when you're a promoter and you sell out two venues back to back, it's exciting.
But it has to be, it's scary. Doing your first grappling event, you didn't know necessarily if 500, 600, 700 people were going to show up to watch grappling.
Sure.
And they did. I mean, it was almost as big a crowd as last night for the MMA fights, and you know, that has to be considered a big success, and everyone was into the matches.
Yeah, that was surprising, the fans. So it wasn't the, here's what I thought, it's the same fans. The same fans are going to come twice, or these MMA fans are going to come in. These grappling fans were different, you know. They were silent. It was like being in Pride. We had our two announcers talking. The whole arena could almost hear them because they were silent. And then when something happens and there's a flurry, they know exactly what they're looking at. Everybody's going crazy. You know, this wasn't about a beer drinking tailgate and, you know, let's get the boys together. It wasn't like that, and that was a surprise for me. I guess I don't know who our audience is, but it is our first time.
I think it was all the people from the jiu-jitsu schools, whether it's the weight belt that just started or the friend of the friend who trains jiu-jitsu. They all showed up to support the people. You know, obviously, it's a pretty good hotbed in Portland with the jiu-jitsu community, and you got them out tonight. Yeah. Your first show before the words, you know, really there. You know,
it's hard on I'll tell you this, it's hard on the first one because you have a little anticipation, and that helps. That's a helpful thing that you lose moving forward. The other side of it is, no matter how many times I came out and told people this is going to be special, they don't know. You have to show them. So the feedback has been so strong. Flow Combat, who represented this for the live stream, our partner in this, and they did record numbers too. They've been in this business, in this space for a long time. They have involvements from the NCAA to the Olympic Games to the trials. There's nothing in amateur wrestling that they don't dominate. And they had some record numbers for traffic today, and a lot of it was on premise. This is my guess, but I think the guess is right. There's not enough of these events, and you just can't miss one. For MMA, as much as I never miss, but some people do, because there's always one next week, and then there's one the following week. We don't have that in grappling. There's not enough of this out there, so it was definitely very wise to take EBI rules, to team up with Eddie on that and what he's doing there, so that we can start intermingling these guys. The whole point is to find out who is the best, and we trust from a business standpoint that if we hold strong to that, much like the NCAA, much like the Olympic Games, that it will pencil at the end of the day. But to find out who's best in, you got to follow the same rules. You can't go into this football field and all of a sudden a touchdown's worth 10 points, and then go into another game and it's worth 6. It's got to be the same.
Well, let's talk about the card, break it down a little bit, some of the high points. Number one, it was really exciting. Not everything went to overtime. The matches that did go to overtime were very exciting. We had a lot of submissions in regulation, right?
Some surprises.
Yeah, some surprises. Vinny M. Megalace, or Mega Enos, back to the UG days that he had to take on. You know, pulling off, I think it was a heel hook when he was caught in a deep toe.
Caught! He was done!
He's rubber legs. He's rubber arms, rubber legs.
He was smiling.
So that's pretty amazing. You gotta say that, yeah, he's definitely one of the top heavyweight grapplers, submission grapplers, jiu-jitsu experts.
Okay, something's wrong with this guy. So Vinny tells me all the time how that Robert Drysdale's the best. He tells me that. Well, I then look at Vinny's record. He beat Robert Drysdale. He then tells me that Buchecha, he tells the whole world tonight, Buchecha's the best. Well, he beat Buchecha at Abu Dhabi, right before he beat Fabricio Verdun. He tells me Hamelo's the best. Now, all of these guys are amazing. These guys are amazing. Vinny beat Hamelo twice. Now, he also lost somebody, but he beats these guys. He's really, really confident in some ways, and he's really humble. And I don't get it. It's like, Vinny, if you're the man, just be the man.
So, Buchecha, or what do you think Vinny could take Josh Barnett? Of course, some of these other heavyweight grapplers out there, Cyborg, Abu, I guess.
Josh Barnett would agree to this in a moment. He's from the Northwest. He could bring his whole family. He'd be up. I mean, Josh is a call away, and Josh doesn't back down. That's it. Josh doesn't back down.
I think it would be very, very interesting.
Buchecha, again, he's also an extreme competitor. And Buchecha would say, I mean, you got a lot of options out there, but in my mind, the guy to beat is Vinny.
Let's talk about another super heavyweight bad boy that got a great submission. Our instructor, Fabiano Schörner.
Incredible.
Managing to submit Rico Rodriguez, that's still a very big deal. Rico is heavyweight UFC champion, ADCC champion. And
it looked good tonight.
And looked very good.
He got him in one position. Rico looked great tonight. You know, Fabiano's so interesting too because even his nickname translates to go easy or go slow. I think it is. It's one of the two. But he did that tonight. You know, he's never done EBI rules, but he's smart. So he's
very relaxed at first.
Right. He played the cage. He knew when to explode. He knew when not to. He let Rico burn some energy off, and he got to overtime. He wanted those positions, and he got there. And he found a submission of a two-time world champion.
I thought it was, you know, he picked the armbar position right away, and he got the armbar. You know, EBI rules are kind of more like take the first 2 rounds, put in your clock time. I mean, if you look at the statistics, those are the guys who are usually winning. They take the back position, and Fabiano picked the armbar, and he got the armbar. You know, Rico was starting to get out like twice, and he kind of flowed into it, and he still extended it, popped it, and that was pretty impressive to see. I mean, Schörner is awesome on top. You know, he's strong wrestler too, good with leg locks and MMA and everything. He's real rounded, and he's got a great bottom game for a heavyweight, super heavyweight.
I thought Rico was out. So Rico defended that. He tried to sit up. He came out the back door, and then he jumped over the body. I thought he was out. So, but that's it. You know, again, I want to know these moves. I mean, these jiu-jitsu moves, they're so high level. You know, I call it grappling. These guys call it jiu-jitsu. Some guys call it wrestling. But it's grappling. It's a hybrid now. It's like mixed martial arts. When you and I started, it wasn't. It was this sport versus another. It's another deal. Jose Aldo, what he's doing, that's not wrestling and kickboxing. It's its own sport. You know. At any rate, I need to learn what Fabiano did because Rico was out. Rico came to the back.
He was circling around, and I think Fabiano just bellied down on it enough while he was caught mid-circle.
Yes, he turned those hips.
I think he turned it down and still just extended it.
Yeah, I'm going to learn that tomorrow. I'm going to ask him, hey, what happened here? Because it looked like Rico was out. Vinny was the same way. So Ronnie's in a perfect position. And Vinny smiles to the crowd and then sees that heel, which he's the master, and reaches, you know.
One more match we'll talk about. I think it's still the night, even though it went to time decision. Chris Lytle and Jake Shields.
The best grappling match I've ever seen. Now, the best I had ever seen until today was Jacare versus Ricardo Almeida, 2003, Abu Dhabi. That was the best grappling match I've ever seen. Lytle and Shields stole it. And again, it comes back because Lytle was beat a few times. But he didn't think so. He found a way. He won't give up.
The old school NHB, old school MMA attitude. I don't care what you got me caught in. I'm not tapping. I'm not giving up.
Yeah, again, Shields had that guillotine.
I thought both guys looked great. The fans were into it. It was really exciting to see it. I'm kind of glad that Lytle was able to defend, even though he's getting out-positioned a little bit by Jake, which we expect, especially with 1 week coming in. And, you know, not that he's been sitting on his butt, but he hasn't been competing in Chris Lytle. You know, just an active firefighter that stays in good shape. But still, like, coming in on short notice against someone like Jake Shields, I thought it was impressive.
And cut a great interview afterwards. He was hilarious.
It was great.
The crowd loved him. And I talk about Vinny because Vinny's the heavyweight. You talk about Barnett and Buchecha as a plus, but there's nobody tapping out Jake Shields. Nobody I know. Now, you might get him in a position or get him to the overtime. It's a different deal. But that pressure of Jake Shields, that ability to compete, I mean, he's as hungry as they come. He's nasty.
He doesn't
Jake
quit.
Shields is nasty. He won't quit.
Hendo hit him with an H-bomb, and he still comes back to dominate all these rounds afterwards.
Joe Rogan says he has an iron will. That's a quote. But he's right. Jake Shields has an iron will.
So you mix wrestling with jiu-jitsu, or catch wrestling with jiu-jitsu, it's pretty good stuff. You know, business side of Submission Underground.
David Orchard was a big surprise.
Yeah.
Giving up that size and you know, took on a two-time world champion and you know, a lot of pressure fighting at home.
I think he got armbar.
Yeah, he caught Muhammad an armbar. Canders, who stepped in, takes out an Olympic silver medalist in less than 4 minutes.
He put together a really nice card, and the fans were into it.
Yeah.
SUG, are you in this for the long haul? Is your deal with Flow Grappling? I think I read for 3 events.
Yeah. So Flow has a commitment. I mean, look, they're a business, and they do this space better than anybody. They made a commitment to 3 events. Now, what does that mean? It means they set the money aside, right? It's a business. It's about money. They set the money aside. A lot. They set a lot. Look, whoever has the most money, whoever puts on the biggest and most grand event, runs the space. That's how it works. And they stepped in right out of the gate. From the HD cameras to the live stream to the media tour to the billboards to the commercials to the radio ads, they left no stone unturned, and they made a commitment to 3. Now, based on what happened today, it's not going to be a slow build. They did record traffic, sold out a venue, but that is their commitment. I believe they are in it for the long haul. We'll be sitting here 10 years from now, but I'll speak for them. They made a commitment to 3.
Well, that's your contract for 3 as well, so I got to ask you, do you think you'd be happy sticking with them, or because of your contacts at UFC, and I assume you're still friendly with Dana, and he's still staying on now, is this something you'd like to get on UFC Fight Pass, maybe just along with the EBI and everything, or as long as it's out there distributed somehow and you get to put some veterans like Ladle on the card?
Sure.
It's an awesome venue for them.
Yeah, no, these are my partners for sure, Flo. I wouldn't do it with anybody else. And we have a long relationship that dates back aside from this event and the stuff that they've done for wrestling, me being a former wrestler and a wrestling fan. But no, they won't go forward with somebody else. I wouldn't go forward without them. We are partners, and we both understand what partners mean. But and they got a great sign. I love that you mentioned Fight Pass. I love what Fight Pass is doing. I love that Eddie's over there on it. But we're following the same rules. I mean, it's no secret. Eddie and I get along great, and that's going to continue. But the bottom line is, if he thinks he is the best guys, and I think I got the best guys, we're going to have to get them together.
Awesome. That's great. Let's get these guys going against each other, knowing the rules. I'm down with that. Let's switch
if we got to go to Fight Pass to do it, we'll show up.
All right,
if they want to come to Flow, we're going to get these matches. There's going to be no Pacquiao-Mayweather situations. I'll put up my guys.
What's important is these guys are going for submission. They're trying to win, and they're not just getting ahead on an advantage and stalling out and where only certain submissions are allowed and a lot is banned. I mean, it really makes it more competitive going for the win kind of thing.
Eddie had a huge event last night. He sent 3 of his guys here. I had 3 of Eddie's guys on the card tonight. So there's no conflict. We're gonna figure out who the best alive is. It's as simple as that.
Let's switch to some UFC news. Let's ask you about Conor McGregor first. What on earth happens if Conor McGregor loses again to Nate Diaz?
It's hard to imagine that goes any different. Conor McGregor has passed the test. Fighters get tested all the time with heart and toughness, but very few times do you get tested, let alone get a pass of courage. This takes courage to go up 2 weight classes. It takes courage, to face a guy not only that beat you, that finished you, same rounds, same weight class, same city for that matter. He asked for this. Conor McGregor can go make $10 million at 145. He can go make $10 million at 155, or he can go make. He asked for the hardest possible conditions he can get. Conor's he's a stud. That's the bottom line. But
so if he wins, he comes out as a stud. If he loses, though, is he done?
Not for me. I don't think so. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. Fans can be fed about their guys, but at the end of the day, Conor McGregor's the world champion either way. A win or a loss, he's a world champion. This is a personal thing for him. He has nothing to gain at 170. He's not going to take on Lawler. He's going back to 45. He's already got a
It shows bigger balls to say, let's do this at 170 again, but to me, that's like a mistake. He should have done it at 155 or probably 160 a catchweight. Do you agree with that?
He had that offer to
Nate's bigger. He's got a bigger back. He's got longer reach.
I think for the outcome, I think you're spot on. But again, let's go back to just what Conor said, because I've always been a Conor fan, but this did help, I'll admit. Listen, he said, if I'm going to redo this, I'm going to try to get this one back, I can't change anything. Dana offered it to him. What weight do you want to do this? Let's move it down to 55. Yeah, that's where Nate belongs anyway. He said, no, if I'm going to redo it, then let's redo all of it. Let's redo all. I really respect that. Now, Nate Diaz, here's the other side of that, Dan. That was the worst Nate Diaz we've ever seen. That was the sluggish, slow. He'd been on the couch. He hadn't been in the gym training. He hadn't sparred. He got the call 9 days in advance. The next day, he has to start cutting weight and get on an airplane for the media tour. So Nate didn't quite know where he was. He couldn't find all those things you lose when you're not sparring.
So I don't believe he was training for triathlons. He was actually drinking tequila and hanging out.
Yeah, well, he might have been doing his triathlon thing, but he wasn't in the gym sparring. It was the worst Nate Diaz we've ever seen, and he still won. A bad Nate Diaz won. That's relevant, because when I get asked about these things, if I'm influencing people, I'm always thinking about betting. I'm thinking about somebody putting down their hard-earned money. I say, well, the one thing you need to consider before you get that out is that was the worst Nate Diaz possible, and he still won.
Well, either way, interesting to see. I'm thinking about going to that one myself. It's a good card. 202 it's coming out up a month from now. Let's talk about John Jones a little bit. Not sure how much you want to get into it. You have mentioned, you were told that he, probably had 2 estrogen blockers in his system.
2 estrogen blockers.
Can I get a hint from you? I can assume either that means Clomid and Novadex kind of things, like a PCT, or one of those in HCG.
I don't know. Well, here was the thing, though. Yeah. There's other, like, those are the good ones. I for example, have done.
There's Clomid and there's Novadex or tamoxifen.
Clomid, is that how you say? Okay. And that's a good one. That's when you're coming off of testosterone, which was my situation. So you went on that. That combined with HCG is great. But there's other estrogen blockers, and some are an accident. John is claiming that, hey, I don't know what happened here. John lacks credibility, so he's not getting very far with that. But that doesn't mean he's not telling the truth. And there is things out there where you can pick up an estrogen blocker. I don't know a ton about them. Guys don't want estrogen. You're trying to block them.
But usually you're doing that PCT after you've done a cycle.
That is what USADA believes, and that's why he's in the
Or, guys actually do monotherapy now. You could go on tamoxifen monotherapy or HCG monotherapy, and you're doing a lot every day, and it's working. It's almost as good as being on TRT, as being on a regular testosterone shot. So that whole thing's kind of interesting. But we've been in the game. You've been in the game a long time. If you ain't cheating, you're not trying. And no matter what you do, even though USADA is great, people are always going to try to find loopholes around. I mean, you're fighting for a lot of money. You're fighting for pride.
Yeah, and cheating is such a broad spectrum. That's the thing where John's resisting. Well, hey, I wasn't cheating. It's like, time out, John. I do think intent matters personally, but that's not what the rules say. The rules say if you go outside of this box, you're cheating. So, but laws work the same way. I don't call a guy a criminal if he jaywalks, but it is. It is a crime. So there's kind of this fine line where it's like, yeah, it is cheating, but that is a really broad spectrum. I think we should hear John out.
We should, and hear Brock out. I hate that, this is the news things. I don't really like to necessarily talk about this stuff, but Brock, I'm having lunch at Olive Garden, ESPN's got it, flashing across the screen. Apparently, I don't know all the latest news, apparently he passed like 6 tests leading up to the fight, and the 7th one is the one he popped on.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know if it's a rumor or if it's a reality that someone is saying they trained with Brock, and this could just be simply over an inhaler for asthma.
Yeah, well, here, let me tell you how this works, because I was in this spot, okay? You get flagged for something. Now, you only answer for what you got flagged for. You don't then come to the table and go, hey, there were 7 other things. How did you not find it? So you address, so as soon as you get hit for it, you go to Google, and you see, what else is this stuff in? And let me rework my story. Whatever one seems the most to silly me. That's what you want. Oh my, I had no idea. That's the one you then hang your hat on. So he's going to take his time. He'll get his story together. The best thing I think for him is to look. I'm done anyway. I'm going to ride off in the sunset.
I think I heard you say that earlier. I don't think he's done. I think he wants to fight again. I mean, WWE can now pump him as the biggest, baddest man on the planet.
Sure.
Pretty legitimately.
Yeah.
I honestly think even with his time off and how he's still a little punch shy, if you look at the heavyweight UFC rankings, I think 6 to 10 he beats. Number 6 to 10 he beats. 1 through 4, a couple in there are questionable, like Overeem. 5, Ben Rothwell. Maybe he can take down Ben. Maybe Ben could 10-finger guillotine. I think Brock is legitimately still up there.
Oh,
if he chose
no
to keep going at it.
Oh, I would never dispute that. Don't forget, I don't even know what Hunt's ranked, but let's throw his ranking out. He just beat Frank Mir.
I think he was number 8. Yeah.
Okay, he just beat Frank Mir, who's a two-time world champion. And he was the #1 contender himself versus Verdun within the last calendar year. No, Brock can go with those.
I don't want to see Brock down. I'm hoping he goes back. WWE looks at the ratings. They get to really pump him up as like, man, this guy is, they can give him a bigger push now, if that's, to be believed. And I would love to see him, even if it's just once or twice a year. If he can renegotiate his contract with WWE, hey, Vince, this was good for you. I won, believe in me. I think his fire, unless you know something else, it seems like it's really his true desire to.
It could. I don't know. It's just very rare that a guy gets to go out on top. That outside of GSP, I can't name a guy that has. And this kind of Brock shot to go out on top. But that doesn't mean he's done. That just means I think he's done.
Okay, 2 more quick little things if we can. Hendo, you think Hendo deserves it? Because it's kind of like he's been there in the sport. He's a true legend against Bisping. Do you think hey, why not? Bisping wants it. And even if Jacare, maybe deserves it or other people, Hendo just had a win and, before the guy has to give it up, you think, okay, let's see a shot?
Well, Bisping's the one that deserves it. Bisping has wanted to fight Dan Henderson in a rematch. And if you took the belt out of the equation, nobody is complaining. But everyone wants to see them fight. Bisping, got devastatingly highlight reel knocked out. He climbed his way back to the absolute top of the mountain. Bisping wants this fight. Now, the fact that he happens to be champion, Bisping's been calling from this fight before he had the belt. He fought everybody in his way. Dan, as far as deserved, let's say this. Dan has the mandate of the masses. The fans are on Dan's side. The fans are saying, we love this guy. Make the fight.
Okay, thoughts on IMG? IMG and the purchase of the UFC, the biggest one ever in sports?
I'm curious. I'm so excited. I'm happy for the old owners. They built something, they sold it, good for them. They can move on and try to set some record somewhere else. I'm excited about the guys that have bought it, and most importantly, I'm curious. I'm so curious what they're going to do.
Are you happy they got Dana to stay on? And
that's the whole deal, man.
Though he's going to have to do a lot more without Lorenzo there. Dana's going to have to do a lot more.
Yeah, that's right. But that's still the brain of the operation. There's only a couple of men in the world that could fill that role. But know what they're doing.
You think now we're going to see the champions and stuff being in like these action movies more and being marketed better and stronger? And
Let's see. Every athlete wants to be an actor. Every actor wants to be an athlete. It's the strangest thing. Making movies sucks, and guys think it's fun. They think it pays a bunch of money. You want to have some fun and make a bunch of money? Go win a UFC title. Go fight on a main card. Look, let's see what these guys do.
It'll be interesting to see. Anyway, it's cool to come here to the Roseland Theater. I think this might even be the building I was supposed to fight you at like 10, 11 years ago.
This is where it was going to be, yes.
So it's interesting. Sorry, guys, I got injured. I had to cancel out on Chael. I feel bad about that again.
That's funny you bring that. I had never thought of it, but you're right.
But I think this is the very building we were supposed to fight in long ago, so it is interesting to come here. It's cool to come to the events. And I guess that's all I got for you. Got anything else?
No, that's it. Kaboom.
Thank you, guys. Please subscribe and check you on the flip side. Thanks.